Bailey Butterfield with us live in the virtual studio. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it in person, but Bailey is actually a sister of one of my former students, a student that I had such a blast with. I will never forget the day he showed up to school in the Gator.
Mhm.
And I remember when I saw him drive up in the Gator, I was not surprised because I knew he could do that stuff, but I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I'm like, Brady, come here. And then he's like,
Yeah.
come on in. So then we took laps around the parking lot.
Right.
And then I remember the principal saw us and he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, come on in. But he wouldn't do it. And then from there, though, that was a big, like, aha for me when I saw him in that Gator. It was like, man, we have his programming wrong. Like, he's capable of so much. And he would get so bored with the little tasks that we were having him do. Like, put in the box or, something lame like that. And then from there, it was just like, all right, dude, you're going to art class. You're going to go do the laundry across campus. So this could be a super fun conversation because we're going to get some insights from a sister of a special needs individual. And also, Bailey works in the special education world. And I'm super curious to hear about the early days and all that jazz. But, Bailey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, who are you? Where are you located?
So, like
What's
you
the
said,
scoop?
okay. So I am the older sister of a brother with special needs. I live in Sandpoint, Idaho. Love
Woo-hoo.
it. Just moved back after 6 years in Coeur d'Alene, which is about 40 minutes away. So back home, and yeah. And so I'm a behavior intervention specialist, and so I work with kids with special needs, and I've been doing that for almost 7 years. But
So, you go into homes.
I go into homes. I did for the first couple years go into like the school setting, but then after I had my first daughter, I went back part time, so it's just easier to have me in the houses,
Hmm.
and I actually prefer that more.
Yeah. And you are married?
Married, wonderful husband. I was looking at all the questions you gave me beforehand, and you said, "Oh, you're married." I'm like, "Yeah." I was thinking the spouses that marry into a special need families, those are the real MVPs.
Yeah.
It's like it takes a lot to stick
Well,
around for that.
it's just a whole, for many, it's not common. Like,
Hmm.
I know before special ed, I was never around it. I never saw it in high school, nothing. And I even accidentally subbed a special ed class as an aide. And it was like, I had no idea what's going on. So,
New world for
for your
sure.
husband to marry into it, that's
Yeah.
an interesting perspective.
But yeah, and then we have two girls. We have Eloise, who's 5, and Penelope, who's going to be 2 next week. So
Okay.
we're pretty busy with those two.
Yeah. So you have a brother.
I do have a
He
brother.
is 22.
22. Yeah.
Okay. And you were how many years older?
I'm 8 years older.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does he have going on?
So what does he have going on like currently in his life?
Yeah.
Well, he's still really much into John Deere Gators. That is, he has every hat, every sweatshirt, all the good stuff. But he's been working at a local place for adults with special needs to do the work. They have in the community work, on site, and he does a lot of stuff on site. Actually, pretty much all the stuff has more structure and it's not too overwhelming. But he does that a couple days a week, and then yeah, he lives with my parents.
Yeah. Does he like working?
I think at first, just as any transitional period is, it definitely was like trying to find that balance. And I think after about 4 months, it kind of got to the point where he knew the routine, he knew the expectations, and it became more enjoyable. But yeah, I think at first it was like, what is going on? And it takes a while for people to, get to know him too. So
Right. But
uh,
he's such a likable guy.
he is. He's very
He he
personable,
he does get a little frustrated sometimes, but don't we all?
of course.
All right, so you were 8 when he was born. So I mean, you fully knew what was going on. What does Brady have
Yeah.
exactly?
Okay. So Brady technically does not have a diagnosis, and that didn't come without trying to figure it out. But my parents did genetic testing. They did annual trips to the Portland Hospital. They went to the Mayo Clinic, and no doctor could give him like a firm diagnosis. They ruled out autism. However, he does have autistic tendencies, but yeah, there was no like, this is what he has. So we just called it Brady syndrome, you know?
One of a kind.
One of a kind, exactly.
Did they your parents know something was up before he was born?
No, they didn't know. Well, from what I remember, yeah, everything was normal for the pregnancy, but when he was born, he had trouble breathing, and then for about 4 days, he didn't cry. So, I mean, that was kind of nice. It was quiet, but I was only 8. My mom,
Yeah.
on the other hand, she knew immediately like there's something's not right.
Hmm.
And as he got older, I mean, month to month, you could just tell the milestones weren't being hit. So at 6 months, they referred him to endocrinologist. Anyways, and that's where the diagnosis process started, but never really got anywhere.
Uh-huh. What was it like? What was that like for you?
You know, living it, you're just living it. And so you don't really have time to think about it. But as I gotten older, I've been able to reflect back. And I definitely, it was hard, but I think I enjoyed it. It kind of gave me some purpose. Like, I'm his big sister, but I'm also kind of someone that's helping him achieve these milestones.
Hmm.
So I really was involved with those, I guess, processes.
Was it how was it for your parents? Stressful.
Very stressful. There was a lot of tension. I mean, naturally, marriage is going to have tension, but adding in the factor that one of your kids has special needs, it definitely brought, yeah, tension between my parents. And I saw that and I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to separate. They're going to separate. What's going to happen? How are Christmas? All these things. But by the grace of God, they stuck together, which, again, another reflection. I'm so proud of them. Like being a parent myself, it's like you guys really stuck it through. And I think it's definitely paying out now that things have settled. They're on the same team. And it's been really, really good to see because, a lot of parents are not together. A lot of my clients, I was just thinking about it, most of them were single parents, and the other spouse was not a part of it. It was kind of a solo situation. So proud of them for that.
Do you typically see the mom or the dad?
Mostly it is mom, but I did have one dad that he definitely was a superstar. He really stepped up. He was probably that client and her dad. It was just the two of them. I was with them the most out of all the clients I've been with, and I was closer to them. But I got to see the perspective from a dad because he had a daughter, and it definitely was a lot harder, especially as she got older and more mature. He's like, I mean, there was so much he just didn't know how to help with. Whereas a mom, they kind of have the mothering instincts, and so even if the kid is, a boy and older, they still are able to provide that. Yeah, it's mostly moms taking care of the kids.
Yeah, I mean the divorce rate's pretty high for
Hmm.
families with special needs. How do you think your parents kept it together?
I'm gonna definitely credit God. I mean, He's
Yeah.
been intertwined through this whole entire experience, and I think that's kind of what helped keep our foundation from completely tumbling. But they also had, I think, a great support system. I mean, my immediate family were amazing. Both grandparents stepped up and helped whenever they could, and then community members were just also really good. And so I think having that around them really helped support them as parents. But and then my sister, she's 3 years younger than me. Her and I really saw the stress of it, and we just stepped in where we could, and I think that helped. And I know it has because my mom and dad have both expressed how grateful they were to have us being a part of it.
Hmm. What about like when you would have friends over?
Yeah,
What they say? Like, how did that go?
yeah. So friends, we were never shy to have friends over. If anything, the friends love coming over here. They got to hang out with Brady, which when he was a little dude, oh my gosh, he was so funny. But yeah, he would just wanted to be a part of it, and they wanted to welcome him in. And both my sister and I played sports, and we'd go to sporting events, and Brady would be there, and everyone would be cheering with Brady. And I don't know, it definitely made an impact on our friends for sure. One of my best friends, who was actually a neighbor, she was here all the time, and Brady had a big impact on her. She actually just graduated with occupational therapy. So just to see that transition, that was really cool to witness.
I know it's like anyone who's willing and curious to be around anyone with special needs, typically they're drawn in. I know if,
Mhm,
for me, it was the first student I ever worked with, he had angel man syndrome.
mhm,
And I mean, he was just the happiest kid ever. And he couldn't stop smiling.
mhm.
And I remember after like a couple of weeks with him, I was like, man, I'm just going to keep doing this because this guy's so, so funny. And I always just appreciate they are who they are. They don't care.
Yeah,
They don't care about what anyone thinks. They
no,
just
it's
do their
definitely.
thing.
I think it humbled some of my friends, and which is great. And then they had that experience under their belt, so hopefully, as life goes on, they're more inclined to be around someone. Because if you don't grow up with it or around it, it's kind of a different, well, new experience. But as a family, we're just so inclusive with Brady that anyone who came over, they just felt comfortable, and that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Feel comfortable, them to feel comfortable, and yeah.
So you were never at the same school as him?
No, I don't think we ever. Well, I know for sure we didn't. My sister and him, I think he was in kindergarten when she was in sixth grade. So there was just a little overlap there. But for the most part, we were pretty much separated by.
I'm trying to like, what are some of his tendencies?
Oh, man. Well, he's grown out of a lot of them, which is really nice. But as a kid, um, aggression, he pulled hair, bite, run away. My goodness. I mean, I got stories of him ending up in all sorts of places, just wandering off. And so there was those. But he was also wanting to be a part of what was going on around him. He was very curious. And so he had that going. So if he looked like he was interested in something, we definitely would just kind of foster around it and see, okay, what can we use this, help you with? So
And
that's,
he has some language.
yeah, that's probably the biggest component. Yeah, he has very limited vocabulary. Up until six, he knew about 50 words, and even those words were really hard to like understand unless you were with him. You probably couldn't understand what he's saying, and still to this day, it's like kind of a guessing game sometimes. It's like, hey, what are you trying to say? Let's figure this out. But yeah, there's definitely a disconnect. I think he knows what he wants to say. He just isn't able to verbalize it.
And I would imagine, I mean, from my perspective, that's a lot where his behaviors would come.
Yes, for sure.
He wanted so bad to say what he was thinking, and you can see him like stewing.
Mm-hmm.
And when
And
he
if you're not
couldn't,
figuring it out, it's like sometimes he just gives up. It's like, okay, you're not gonna get what I'm trying to say. It's not worth it. But there are times where he's really, adamant, and we get to what he's trying to say, and it's like once we get there, it's like he's excited, we're excited. It's like, okay, all right. So, but yeah, they're definitely stemmed from the communication.
and when I could always see when he would punch somebody or pull their hair. Thankfully for me, I didn't have any hair, so he couldn't get to my hair. But he never punched me. We were homies.
Yeah, no, he really liked you.
But I could see when he would punch people, he would be trying to communicate, and then they would be prompting him like over the top annoying,
Hmm.
and it's like your natural reaction. It's just like just be quiet.
And yeah, oh,
But I
hearing those stories, of him getting to the point of that being that aggressive as he got older, it kind of just like made my heart sink because like I knew exactly why. Like you said, it's just trying to communicate something, the other person isn't receiving it or understanding it, and that gets to that point, and then he is the one that was the aggressor, and it just not a good feeling when that's the case.
do you know like what is that like on the home front when you get a report from school
Well,
that
as a
like you punch someone?
well as a kid in his younger years, elementary, it was just a day to day occurrence. It was like, oh, what did he do today? What did he do today? Oh, okay, oh, okay. But as he got older, he got better. Um, yeah, it definitely took a toll, especially on my mom. She's kind of the one that's taking him to and from therapies and to and from school. And just to get reports that your kid's not doing well, you just kind of hear the negative stuff. I think it definitely put a damper, in her.
I remember one time I had to call. I don't know who. I think I talked to your mom, and he had like a decent behavior. I don't know. It was at PE or something, and it was like, all right, so I should probably call because I don't know. They always told me I downplayed everything. I'm like, nah, it wasn't a big deal, whatever. But this one, they were like, all right, you need to call, so I called, and I remember your mom was like, I've been like waiting for you to call, and I was like, well, he's doing great. Has moments here and there, but this one was a little bit bigger, so I needed to call. But I always respected like your just from that conversation, and I didn't really get to know your parents too well, but their perspective on it was just like, okay,
Okay, what can we do?
right.
Can we support him? But it definitely, yeah, it towards the end especially, it was like, I mean, it was just getting to the point where it's like, okay, what's going on? Because he's not like this at home, but at the same time, that's where my perspective also as someone that has been in the classroom, you know, what happens in the classroom sometimes is a reflection of how things are going at home. So it's hard to like say they weren't doing it right or whatever. It just unfortunately got to that point.
Did he show any of this at home? I mean, the
No,
environments are completely opposite.
exactly, yeah. Yes, and I think there was a lot of transitional stuff going on, especially in his later years of high school. Like both my sister and I had moved out by then. We were both getting married, so he had that kind of going on, and then he had the school just kind of going on. And so I think him just in his life, a lot was going on, and so I think it just kind of got to that point where it was just aggression, and I think that was kind of his release. I mean, as sad as it is, and it's not fair,
But for him, it's like he doesn't know how to release it.
yeah.
Like we can go on a run or go yell in a car or something, but
Yeah, we
it's
have ways
just
of coping, but for him, there really wasn't anything he could do.
yeah.
He's definitely mellowed out since then, and it's really nice to see. Because
Well, that picture you sent of him driving the boat with your daughter,
oh yeah,
I was like, there's Brady in a nutshell. That's great. So you have the personal standpoint with special needs, and then you went into it professionally. What drew you in?
so originally when I went to college, I wanted nothing to do with special needs. I mean, at that point, I was so burnt out, and this was my chance to do the next thing. And so I was at college, and the first semester went by, and I came home on winter break, and I saw Brady, and it was just so excited and like, oh, what did you learn? What have you been doing? And so then I finished my first year and it's like, gosh, I really missed just being a part of that um, experience of them learning something and it just getting to the point where it's like a whole new skill. And I really wanted to see what I could do with that. So I got my degree in psychology. It's like, well, I want to help people in some way at whatever level. And I had graduated and I was looking for jobs and I came across behavior intervention. And I was reading the description and it's like, gosh, that really kind of sits well with me because that's what I did growing up. A lot of the therapies Brady was in, he got discharged from a lot of them by like 7 because he wasn't making enough progress. And so I kind of just stepped in and really got him to speak, the words he can say and got him to do different things. There's things that he would do for me and not anyone else. And so I definitely felt like I had a gift. And so when that job came up, I was like, I know I can do well at this. And I think I did pretty well. It just got better and better, and clients got, harder and more difficult. But I think I had enough background to really make a change in their life. Yeah.
So you took everything you learned from the home
Mm-hmm.
and then
Applied it to.
applied it to your career.
Yeah.
Did you, like growing up, was, I would imagine a lot of families, a lot of their attention for many reasons goes to that child that has exceptional needs. I can see, like, probably with parents, it'd be hard. Like, maybe you were kind of like, didn't get as much attention.
Yeah.
Was that the case?
So it was a few years ago, and I came across a term called glass children. And it's basically the siblings of a special need individual. And it just basically, the term kind of comes from parents having to focus their attention on the sibling with special needs, that the other siblings can almost feel like they're being seen through and kind of forgotten or whatever that may be. However, I do need to credit my parents. Despite all their odds, they did really well making sure my sister and I were feeling like our needs were being met, and we both played club sports and they were always there and involved. And so yeah, didn't it felt more isolating, I think, as peers. I think that was kind of where I felt like there was a disconnect. Yeah, because I was always kind of being with my brother and helping him, and
Mm.
that definitely was, I think, the harder things. But in hindsight, it just definitely made me more mature and gave me some skill sets that I'm really living out now, like patience. I mean,
Yeah.
so.
Well, it's just a classic example, and I've said it on previous episodes, that like everything in life happens for us.
Hmm.
And it's so easy to get into the victim mindset of like, this is happening to me. Like, why does my brother have to have these needs?
Hmm.
My parents aren't seeing me. But you've taken it as a benefit, and now you're relating it to your work now. So, what is it exactly that you do?
So I do behavior intervention, and uh, I so it uses ABA therapy, applied behavior analysis, and I when I get a client, we go over kind of what behaviors they have and different goals that they want them to reach, and we implement these different programs. But for me, I wanted, take the goals they wanted and really try to use the skills that I've learned with Brady that worked and try to somehow incorporate the two. And I think I've found a really good, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say formula, but I found what works. And it's been able to really, I guess, make this an easier job. It's it's hard to say because, like, a person that comes into this job not having the experience, they're in it, I think, just to try something new, and I'm watching them and looking and saying, there's just a missing element, and I don't know what it is. I think it's the compassion, and not to say they're not compassionate. Gosh, I'm all over the board with this one. So yeah, basically I'm a behavior intervention specialist.
So you go into homes and you do ABA analysis.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What is it?
So it's definitely been so different over the last 7 years. So for someone that I go in home with, let's take this one client for example. I would pick her up after school and we would go to the home, and a lot of her goals were like social and skill based, and so we would just kind of create a routine, something that helped her with her own independence, but also whatever goal she was working on, incorporating that into it. I really wanted there just to be a sense of organicness. Like it wasn't like a let's sit down and do these, drills and then go to the next
Hmm.
thing. I wanted to see how we could have a natural routine that also hits the goals that they're hitting. Because yeah, in the home it's a lot different than in the classroom or anywhere else. So making it as natural as possible
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's quiet.
It's quiet too. However, there are times, one of my favorite things when I work with a client in home is go into their bedroom. Most of the time it's chaotic. It's a mess. And we organize it together. We go through the stuff. We get rid of stuff that they don't need, clothes that don't fit. I mean, just get a fresh start. And I really enjoy doing that because I know it helps the parent, but also it gives the kid a new environment that's not so overstimulating. And for myself, it's not
Yeah.
overstimulating.
So a big emphasis on more like life skills.
Yeah.
How do you experience the parents when you go in home? I've always thought it'd be, I never did any in home. I tried with one student and I actually never went in the home. He had very violent behavior, so I had to sit outside the home and
Mm-hmm.
read him a book through the window. And
Yep.
he had like reading goals. That was an experience. But I've always thought it'd be difficult to go in the home because not only are you going in there to essentially tell the parent what to do, but you're in a sense also like reorganizing their home.
Yeah. And this definitely comes with building a trust. Before I even meet the parent, I reach out to them and I just kind of give them a brief, overview of who I am and what my experience is professionally and then personal. And I think that really helps giving them hey, I grew up with a special needs brother. I get it that life's not perfect and what you're dealing with, you weren't prepared for. And I get that. So let's figure out how we can work together um, to really help your kid thrive because that's ultimately their goal. And so
Hmm.
I really want to be not parent driven. I want the parents to be involved because that really helps. 'Cause as soon as I leave, it's just them. So
Right. Are they receptive to that?
you know what? I think a lot of them are. I think it's lonely to begin with. A lot of times it's just the parent and the kid, and sometimes there's any or other interaction. And so when I'm there, I let the parent vent. If there's stuff going on, obviously I'm not their therapist, but I don't judge them. I mean, there's some things I've heard that like, ooh, that's not the best thing, but I tried to be an ear for them, just let them
Uh,
let it out. So yeah, I think a lot of my parents have really appreciated having someone that kind of knows what they're experiencing too, like genuinely, like
do what do you see like that the parents need the most?
um to be told that it's gonna be okay. I mean,
Yeah.
as simple as that is, just hope that it's gonna get better. Cause I saw that with Brady. It was so hard growing up, but now that we're older and he's older and he's got some skill sets under him, it just is so much better. So not to think that your world is crumbling in, even though it feels like it. It's just you got to restructure your expectations and yeah, go from there.
Yeah, it's like nobody signs up for it.
No.
But yeah, your perspective is spot on. It's just you just gotta roll with it.
Yeah, you could beat yourself up, but nothing's gonna change from that.
Right.
And that's just wasted energy. And of course, all this is easier said than done. And I've had a couple parents where their child had some sort of diagnosis later in life or an accident. And so they're now having to pivot from having a normal child to one with special needs. And so, especially those ones, like, gosh, you haven't had the years to kind of prepare yourself for this. Like, this is hard and I see it, but just know I'm going to help you and there's a purpose in this.
Uh-huh.
When I feel comfortable that the parents are receptive of it, I let them know that, you know, God is so good. He doesn't make mistakes. There's a reason why, your kid is the way they are. And I've seen that Brady's changed so many lives that, in the moment you don't realize it. And then later you're like, okay, there was purpose in this chaos. But yeah, I think a lot of them do have some sort of faith within them. And so they receive that and like, you're right. I feel that.
Uh-huh. Do what was so hard about growing up with a brother with exceptional needs?
I know I like the way you have described it.
There's just
I
so many labels put on it. It's
there
like
are, and it's like what's appropriate to say. Like I see special needs
I probably
sibling,
have
but
offended somebody by now, but
gosh, well, you learn to not care so much. But I was always, I think, one of my identities growing up was Brady's sister. So I was always, looked at as Brady's sister. And I love that because, I was really involved with what he was doing and this, but it became kind of who I was. And so I feel like I kind of let that become part of my identity. And it is a big part of it. However, I don't think until I moved out, I didn't really feel like I had a purpose. As long as I was working with Brady and helping him, that was what I was supposed to do. But I loved it. And like I said, it's definitely changed me and made me a better person. And so, yeah.
yeah. Did your so you took it on yourself to be very involved.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
your sister too?
She did too. Especially when I moved to college, she definitely had to step up. But there was definitely, I think, just being the older sister, naturally, more responsibilities kind of came. But I think my sister and I, we both did the best we could. But yeah, there was times where I was kind of jealous because she got to go out and do something. And I was just kind of not left. I was at home with Brady watching him, and but I wanted to do that too. It was there was a balance, but definitely, I think I took on a lot more of the responsibilities because of just wanting to be that involved.
I imagine that's not how everybody is.
No, no,
I imagine this going to be difficult for siblings.
but definitely.
I mean, starting this podcast, I was all like so parent focused,
Hmm.
but now I'm realizing through our conversation is there's a whole other element to this with the siblings.
Hmm. It is.
I never even thought like what it's like growing up as a sibling to somebody with special needs. It's interesting.
But I love sharing my story, and I think, like I said, my parents doing such a good job at making sure my sister and I were seen. I think it helps the parents who are dealing with it to make that little bit more effort for the
Hmm.
siblings. Because yeah, it's really easy to see it caught up in all the things going on with the child. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What are some success stories you've had with going in the homes?
So the biggest one in my head is I had my client who one of her goals was communication, to get a 30 back and forth conversation, and we worked on that for a year. We were gradually like get 5 exchanges back and forth, and we worked our way up, and then we got a token system involved, and she wanted to earn a cat. She wanted to earn a cat so bad, so her dad agreed to it.
A real cat?
a real cat. And so her dad agreed to it. And throughout the summer, we really worked on our communication. She was doing so great. And so she was earning tokens, which each token was like 25 cents. And so she raised or earned enough tokens that we got to go to the animal shelter, and she wanted an orange fluffy cat. And lo and behold, there was an orange fluffy kitten there, and she got to adopt him. His name is Butterscotch, and that cat, yeah, was her pride and joy. So that was really cool to be a part of.
Do you guys have any animals at home?
We don't. We're renting, but we just got some property, so hopefully in the future we'll have some animals.
Yeah, yeah. Does Brady have any animals?
So Brady
It's a
has
dog.
Winston. Yeah, Winston's going on 12 years. So he's a golden doodle, and my parents got him in hopes to have him trained to be some sort of service animal. And when he was a pup, he did do some training and got certified. And basically, he was just a companion for Brady. And over the years, I mean, those two are always doing something together.
Are they?
Oh, Brady would have Winston in the back of his gator driving around. And yeah, it's really nice that Brady had that. Winston's getting older, and we definitely have seen a decline in his just overallness. And I don't know. I'm kind of, when that day comes where we have to say goodbye to Winston, I don't know how Brady's going to handle it. So just enjoying it. And yeah,
Yeah, that'll be hard.
yeah.
What? So how did you have a positive perspective? Like even growing up, like you said, it was hard. There was times that you didn't feel seen.
Yeah.
You were taking care of Brady a lot, so you weren't your social life with friends. Like I imagine in the middle school and high school years, that had been because that's all you do in middle school and high school is hang out with your friends.
But in a way, it kind of kept me, not that I would get into trouble, but it kind of kept me away from certain temptations that could lead to other things. So it kind of kept me a little bit, I don't want to say innocent,
Hmm.
because I'm definitely not innocent, but I got to really enjoy, the little things. I didn't try to grow up too fast. I
Yeah,
matured. I definitely had a maturity, but I didn't try to grow up too fast. I enjoyed it all. But
yeah.
um, I think I felt like my purpose. And so there was a lot of just pride in that.
Well, that's powerful, especially for the sisters and brothers that are going to hear this.
Yeah.
That there is a different perspective that can be had. So, what's Christmas going to be like?
So it's funny you say that. We're doing a lot of different Christmases this year. We did with my parents. Saturday we did a Christmas morning with my girls and them and Brady, and they just drove down to Boise yesterday to visit my sister and her family, do Christmas down there. Most Christmases we are with my family and doing Christmas morning, but yeah, we just kind of had an impromptu one and called it good. But Christmases were always so funny because there's always the hype of everything and the gifts, and especially getting Brady something. You're just so excited. I mean, birthdays and Christmases, you would give him the gift, just waiting, and he just would open it and just kind of look away. He just did not want that attention. And then later you'd see him, tinkering with whatever he got and was really excited. But yeah, you expect him just to kind of not want to talk about it.
Uh
Brady,
huh.
do you like what you got? Oh, what'd you get? He's like, no, no, I don't want to talk about this. But this year he got a windshield for his gator. So he definitely had a smile on his face. Pretty excited.
I know. I love once I realized he loved like power tools and tractors and graders and everything. When he would come into class every morning, I'd have a big screen, just like snow plows, and he would sit there and just lock in. And then anything cool that would come up, he would like get my attention.
Mm-hmm.
It
I
was
should
a
go that way. He'll,
perfect start to his day.
yeah.
How old are your kids?
So 5 and 2.
So the 5-year-old, is she asking any questions about Uncle or?
That's a really good question. I mean, Brady's been a part of her life since she was born, and so she just kind of that's Uncle B. That's what we call him, is Uncle B. I mean, they become buddies just right off the get go. Like Brady would never, he would never hold a kid, but there was never really any opportunity. But he just kind of like was like, kids are the kids. I'm here. But then we had Ella, and it's like, Brady, do you want to hold her? And I remember he said, uh huh, and he held her, and you just could tell there was something in him that was ignited. So no, she knows that Uncle B's different. However, she doesn't think any less of him. She's actually really good about it when she's at school and she sees somebody with like a therapist. It's like, "Oh, just like Uncle B." It's like, yeah, they're kind of like Uncle B. They just need a little bit more help, and yeah, I think that's been a really good experience for her.
Yeah, that's kind of. I just started bringing my 8-year-old into the special needs Sunday school class that I volunteer in, and it's like the most amazing time because there's two 8-year-olds in the class as well, and it's crazy to see they both have autism, and they just immediately navigated towards my son, and he's like pretty shy and super mellow in that setting. And then watching them play together, and those two kids before I started bringing my son, they're just energetic 8-year-olds, but they'll like sit down and like build train tracks and cars and stuff. And always after church, never immediately, usually when I'm putting them down to bed, all the questions starts flying.
Okay.
And they're like, he's just like, Dad, why does he do that? Why does that guy do this? How come one guy has always got the same color shirt and watch on?
Oh my gosh.
Like, how do you notice all this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They
Well,
just soak it all in.
they do. It's kind of funny. Like when Brady is having some sort of behavior, Ellie will go, "He's just having a moment. Like he's just having a moment." So you're right. He is just having a moment.
I think we could learn so much from watching our kids interact with,
Definitely.
because they're just so accepting. They're just like,
Mm-hmm.
we're just how he is.
Yeah, and my 2-year-old, I mean, Penelope loves Uncle B. She just lights up. Like even if we're out and about and she sees a gator, she just lights up thinking it's Uncle B. So that's really cool. And I'll catch her. She climbed up on the chair that Brady was sitting on, and they were watching some show. And next thing I know, she's fallen asleep. She's never done that with me. Climbed up and fall asleep on my lap. But with Uncle B, she just was cozied in and
And he just sits there.
oh yeah, I have so many pictures of him, and like you were saying, on the boat, he gets to drive my parents' boat, and now that we have the little ones, he's been really good about letting them, drive or steer. I mean, we're not going full throttle, but
Uh-huh.
he likes being able to help them, you know, do this thing.
Wow, that's so cool. I mean, yeah, just the thought process of he is in your family, your kids are blessed by him. Everybody, like, what about like big family get-togethers?
So those are any large setting now. You can definitely tell he gets a little overwhelmed, but my family's just really, really good. I mean, there's times where he can be a little overbearing, and I'll just kind of like step in, say, "Oh, Brady, stop, stop!" Like, and the family member like, "It's okay, he's good." But I just like go into sister mode, like, "Don't do that, don't do that," just for having me like, "He's fine." Say, "Okay, you're right." So
Yeah,
I let them have their special bond, I guess, because yeah, member has their own certain thing that him and Brady or them and Brady can talk about or relate to.
right. Well, man, time flew by so fast.
Oh,
Um, Couple closing thoughts. Two questions. What would you want parents to know, like parents that you work with, or just parents in the special needs community in general, and also siblings?
Yeah. I want parents to know that their voice matters. I know we didn't really talk a whole lot about the school, but being the advocate for your child, like, don't stop. I saw this with my parents, especially. They just did not let him just slip through the cracks. They really advocated for him. And even though paperwork is one of the harder things that they go through, push through it. It definitely helps in the long run. And also that they're not alone. That's another easier said than feeling it, but they're not. And to try to find a community, it really helps. And then for the special needs siblings, to know that you're not seen, you're in a place for a purpose, and you may not realize it now, but when you're older and you're able to reflect, you're going to just feel like that time was meant for something, and to soak it up as best as you can.
For the parents, have you seen like that community is something that they desire, or do you think they know they desire it? I mean, it's such an emotional conversation, and then you have to be vulnerable to a certain extent.
Um, I think they want something like that, but it's also not that easy to find either. And so I think a lot of times you're just kind of removing yourself, but trying to find ways to put yourself out there. One of my big dreams is to have a farm where special need families can come, the parents, the siblings, the kids, and trying to build a community, around that where they can be with the animals, they can help with chores, they can sit down and have a snack together, just somewhere they can have some common ground and not feel like they're.
Yeah, and that's our hope with Unspecial is for parents to share their story and to be in community. Tell me about that horse place in town.
Okay, so after my freshman year of college, I got in some academic trouble and ended up having to do some community service. And so it was right at the end of the school year. And so come summer, I needed to find somewhere to, do this service. And my dad knew a guy whose wife had a horse rescue, and they connected us. And so I reached out, and she invited me to their first rescue meeting. I came and really fell in love with just the horses, which is what was going on. And as I got more comfortable, and after my volunteer hours were completed, I kept on coming back, and I eventually started bringing Brady. The owner was just, she loved having Brady out there. And it was so cool because Brady would come out there and he would have a rake and he'd be raking something and collecting eggs and doing this. And the horses, there's one horse in particular named Bumper who he was he liked people, but just kind of had his distance. And the moment Brady would walk in, Bumper would just come over and just lay his head right in Brady's
Really?
arms. So that was his horse, and yeah, that was really cool. So that's another reason why I would love to have something with animals, because it just, there's something different. They definitely can sense whatever it is, and
Yeah, it's like they have their own
yeah,
connection. That's the place where Buffy is, the buffalo?
that's where Buffy lives.
That's so cool. So do they? It's a horse rescue place. Do they have special needs kids come out there and hang out?
I think over the years there's been a couple, but as far as like a commitment returning, I don't think so much. But every once in a while, they'll have someone that wants to, do some work around, or they have some troubled teens come. I got to be a part of that. I got to help with that. And they really just, it was really fun, or it was beautiful to watch. Boys who are labeled as troubled, they were just so sweet. And it was really cool to see them just be in an element where they can just be with the horses and the horses enjoy them.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is super fun conversation. I knew it would be. And I've always just admired like your family and just how you've gone about having Brady
Hmm.
and just having him experience life with you. Like, even though he has what he has going on, it doesn't hasn't stopped you guys from letting him drive a boat or a gator. Just letting him love life. And if I had to describe Brady, it's like he just loves life.
He does.
He just
He
wants to
wants to
have.
be a part of it and
And I mean, it had to
contribute.
been from all of your all's influence. So that's a big takeaway for me. And I know a lot of parents could get a lot of value from that. Just knowing that even though their child has some extra needs,
Yeah,
you can still live life.
yeah. So yeah,
And
that's another thing I'd say to parents is don't limit yourself on what they can do. Brady surprised us in so many ways. I mean, like you said, driving a gator and boat, you would never think that would be possible, but it was kind of me on the boat, and I saw that he wanted to. I said, you want to drive the boat? And he sat down, gave it a little gas, and we were just kind of putzing around, and he loved that. Well, the next day, we were on the boat again, and I told my parents, so Brady, I let Brady drive the boat. We didn't go fast. It was great. He loved it. My dad's like, okay. Well, Brady, come here. All right, sit down. All right, give it a little throttle, a little more. And next thing you know, he's doing the full throttle, chaotic.
yeah,
He's driving the boat, and he just was doing it. And so that definitely was a cool moment to watch. And same thing with the Gator. He loved driving the little toy battery operated cars. He had a Gator, little plastic one or whatever that he drove around. And then, yeah, he had this mind that could just do these things. And once we were able to just kind of get him in the spot where he could, he just blew us away.
well, I mean that's what like kept me teaching is just those like little wins,
Mm-hmm.
and when you can see the joy in each student, and when you finally like uncover something. So I can only imagine.
Brand new.
Yeah, I can only imagine what it's for the family. I just imagine on the boat with your parents and he sits down and he's driving. I would just be like, look at this guy, he's driving
Oh
a
yeah,
boat.
oh yeah, he's the designated driver. It's been probably 5 summers, and he's Captain Brady. I mean, he's
Captain Brady.
Captain Brady, but yeah, the kid can't count to 10. Well, he can maybe count to 10. The kid can't do a whole lot of academics, but sure can do a lot of other stuff.
But I mean, who cares?
Exactly. It's
Like, it doesn't really. I would rather him drive a boat and do
exactly.
like cool stuff like that than sit down and do his ABCs.
Exactly.
Not so much appropriate, but cool. Any final thoughts?
Well, I love what you're doing. This is such a amazing platform that I think is going to help a lot of families.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see. We've been going at it for a couple months now, and a little preview. I wrote a book. It's getting edited right now, and it's going to get published in a couple months. I've been writing it for like 10 years. It's come from stories in the classroom, and I do have one story in there from Sandpoint when we did the All Star Olympics.
Oh my,
Were you there for that? You were.
I was there for that. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
That was probably one of the coolest things I ever did.
That was amazing.
I mean, talk about one of those moments of like driving a boat. To see all those students get up on the podium and
Hmm.
get their medals that the welding shop made. And then I remember turning around and all the students were signing all the Gen Ed kids' shirts.
Yeah, yeah, as a sibling watching Bree now be the star athlete, it was amazing.
And I mean, they brought the heat. They, in their minds that day, were Olympians.
They really were.
That was a special time. Yeah, so cool.
Thank you for inviting me on, and
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be in touch. I'll have to hit you up when I'm back in Sandpoint.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Come
I know
hang,
Brady would love to see you. I've
come hang
been
out with
telling him about
Brady.
it. Like,
Even though what did
he's
he?
smart.
What was his dream?
His what?
He had a dream that I passed away.
No, he was in the class. I forget how it all went down, but basically he came home and he was just sobbing, and it was like, what's going on? And there was a miscommunication, but it sounded like it's when you were leaving the high school that leaving the high school that someone had passed away too, and so it got mixed into that you passed away and you were gone, and he was devastated. I mean, he would be devastated going to the school I reached out to you to see if you were that had happened,
Yeah.
and then I called you to make sure. It's like, can you talk to Brady on the phone? And then we found
Right.
out it was one of the paras in the classroom who passed away unexpectedly that he was really close with.
Mm.
And I think he knew that, but we were just kind of thinking that he thought you had passed away and you were gone, but really there was someone that passed away and you were leaving, but you were very
Man,
much alive.
how confusing.
Exactly. I mean, I was confused, and I
Poor
can tell
guy.
you what he was feeling. So we're very thankful that you're still with us.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. We'll be in touch. Thanks for being on.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Yeah, you
all
too.
this stuff. So yeah, we will be in touch.
Yeah, tell Brady what's up.
I will. I will. He'll love that.
I mean, he could watch this once we
I'm sure he will,
that's
and
it.
he'll be smiling. But my parents would be also some fun people to talk to
But
about
yeah,
their journey through this.
I'd love to talk to him.
So yeah,
If
you'll
they're
hear from the scriptures more than you'll know or
perfect.
want.
Maybe when
All
I'm
right.
in town next.
Okay. That works.
Yeah. We could do a family one.
You know what? We always wanted to do a show. Well, we always thought when we went out in public, like living life with Brady. Oh shoot, he's in the. Oh, I mean, he was in the middle of an intersection once. I mean, that's just a story for another day. Or he was in the neighbor's. I'm looking at the neighbor's house in their doghouse on their porch, and I mean, this kid. And we all had different perspectives. So yeah,
Was
we
it
did.
it was stressful in the moment, but you look back and it's funny?
I think you got to give it some time, maybe a couple hours, because you're like
Yeah.
that's life. Or we were by the ocean and he went missing, and I mean, in the moment, yeah, it's terrifying, and you're like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And then it happened, or he finally relieved, and you're like, oh, Brady,
Well, he would wander around and I remember one time he just wandered into a classroom and
where'd you go?
and then I see him in the class and I just stand at the door. I'm like, Brady. And they're like, well, what are you doing? Where are you going? And he saw something interesting.
Yeah, he's in his own world.
Yeah, it's too good.
So,
Cool. Well, we'll see you.
until next time,
Yep.
have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Yeah. Thanks for watching another episode of the Unspecial podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us at Unspecial LLC on Instagram, unspecialllc.com, and we would love to hear your feedback and have you on the show. Thanks again.